Would you would you rather have Olivia Pierce as a mom or Death's Head as your dad? I think I'd rather die.
This is Versus, the GameSpot show that pits your favorite games, console franchises, and hot-button issues against each other. This week, Doom vs. Wolfenstein. Both series have a vast history, but we're going to turn our attention to the most recent entries, Doom 2016 and the Machine Games Wolfenstein series. Fighting for Doom is Jean-Luc Seipke. He claims to have beaten the game on the hardest difficulty with the HUD turned off, and that he's also had sex with the soundtrack. Only one of those things is actually true, but we'll let you figure that one out yourself. In the Wolfenstein corner, we have Kallie Plagge. Her desk might be covered with Pikachu plushies, but she's been slaying demons and killing Nazis since she could hold a controller. Each are going to argue the corner for their game over the course of 3 randomly picked topics, with the overall winner being decided by you. That's right, the wonderful viewers. Last episode, Dave nuked Mike with 84% for Fallout New Vegas. Ouchie. Anyway, to vote for who you think argued their case better for this episode, we're going to be throwing up a clickable poll right here on YouTube. Alright, let's get into it.
Okay, first one is Gunplay. So, I think what makes Doom's Gunplay unique to just shooters in general is the way the health system works and how when you lose health, it encourages you to keep attacking enemies because the main way you get health back is from doing those finishing moves on them. So unlike most games where you need to get in cover and you need to hide, it has this like forward momentum to it where you're constantly trying to you need to murder more and more demons to get your health up, and it just creates this like constant forward movement that I think is pretty unique to Doom.
But the finishing moves aren't with your guns, they're with your fists, so.
Oh, are we specifically talking just guns? I thought would that
it says Gunplay, that's just.
Okay, I mean, that's fair, but like you have to shoot them to get them in that state.
Right, but you can shoot, in Wolfenstein you can shoot Nazis, so we can move on from that. And I would like to point out that Wolfenstein has a really wide variety of types of weapons and a lot of customization on those weapons, and that customization was improved in the new Colossus, and I think that provides more ways to play. And you can also do some stealthy stuff. You can put a silencer on your pistol. That changes. You can't stealth in Doom. So.
It's true you can't stealth in Doom, but Doom does have variety in its guns as well. There's like the 2 different attachments you can pick, and it it makes you like pick and choose which one you want to use. So it's like, do you want to attach rockets to your assault rifle, or do you want to attach the scope? And
we have that too, though. Wolfenstein has that too.
I'd say that's the drawback.
Yeah. Well, I would just say that I think there are more opportunities to use different kinds of weapons in different ways in Wolfenstein. In Doom, you find yourself doing that corridor shooter thing or that like kill chamber where you're kind of like moving around the sides of the walls, right? You do that in Wolfenstein too, but there's also more opportunities to use weapons creatively, I think.
Okay, but I would also argue that I think Doom allows you to... So the big issue I have with Wolfenstein is that there are certain situations where it like wants you to be more like gung-ho and just like shoot them up, like it doesn't want you to stealth, and I find the fragility of BJ to be like a little bit limiting in that, because you feel like I have to really sit here and wait for the health and I have to keep shooting them. With Doom, it's more like I can, like you feel free to just like keep shooting, use any weapon you want. Like it's more about just like constantly switching between those weapons and like just keeping the combat going as much as possible, where I feel like Wolfenstein, it has moments where it forces you to stealth even if you maybe don't want to.
And what I would say to that is get good.
Fair enough.
All right, next we have level design, and I think that one's just a clear win for me, because Wolfenstein has a variety of level design where you can go in stealthy, or you could go in guns blazing, or you could kind of do a combo of both, or if something goes totally wrong, you can adapt to that. Whereas I think Doom can kind of be limiting in that way, especially if you wanted to be a little more subtle.
All right, that's fair, but I would argue that a lot of Wolfenstein's levels, like just aesthetically, can be a little generic, especially New Colossus. There's a lot of bunkers, there's a lot of just like metal hallways with Nazis in them, which isn't bad, but I think that they maybe lean on that a little too much, where I feel like Doom is constantly trying to have new like interesting environments. You have like, here's the like smelting factory where you have like all this lava everywhere. There's one where you're climbing up the tower, you go to hell, and you go to hell multiple times, but even every time you go to hell, it's a very different looking version of hell.
I will give you that. I will give you that. But I do think that part of level design is not necessarily aesthetic and is also just in giving you the freedom to approach that level multiple ways. And I found that in Doom, there was one way that seemed just like the way that was the most efficient, and anything that I tried to do creatively was not very successful.
Maybe, but I think the best levels in Doom are when they like open it up to sort of like these massive like circular arenas. They have like the jump pads, and there's this flow of you constantly moving around in circles, like using like different elevation to like get advantage on certain enemies. So I think like they're both obviously they're very different levels because they are very different games the way you play them. But I think like Doom's level design like works perfectly with its mechanics, and like that, you know, needing to like strafe around enemies and trying to like kind of corral them in certain like situations to like get them appropriately.
Yeah, but after a while it can get kind of tiring because like I mean like I really like Doom, right? But I do think that sometimes going in that same like, okay, I'm gonna strafe around this circular arena for a while, and yeah, it's fast paced, there's a lot of action, it's exciting, but I do think that having that variety in Wolfenstein really enhances the stakes in a lot of ways, and I think that benefits Wolfenstein as a game more than it would Doom. But I do find like as a player that I liked being able to start a level and approach it, and if I failed, like go in and be like, okay, I know there's another way I can do this. I'm gonna figure that out.
Okay, that's fair. But I would say that Wolfenstein is a little more uneven. I think Doom is pretty even cut in like how it's like, there was no level that I felt like was bad. There were some levels in the new Wolfensteins that I felt were weak. There's the infamous...
Example?
The courtyard level, for example. Or not the courtyard, the courthouse level.
You thought the courthouse was bad?
So it didn't bother me as much as other people. I was actually able to get through it reasonably fast compared to some other people, but I still felt like they are throwing so many enemies at you and you are so low on health. It was frustrating because I had to quick save a lot.
That's what I mean though, that's exactly the point. Like that, there was a narrative purpose to that.
There was, and I appreciated that narrative purpose, but there did hit a threshold where I was like, okay, this is just kind of frustrating and I want to move on.
But that could happen in Doom too, though.
I never had that happen to me in Doom, though. Like, at no point did I ever feel like it had suddenly jumped the difficulty spike where I was like, oh, this suddenly got like way too hard. I feel like Wolfenstein kind of like went back and forth, and a lot of that was like that courtyard or the courthouse one. I think that would have made a great like finale. But for them to put it in the middle of the game felt like they kind of threw the whole pacing out of whack.
Yeah, I will give you that it's a big spike in difficulty, but I do think that overall that serves the game.
All right. Story. Okay, so what's great about Doom's story is how it doesn't care about its story. So the game's story is like very much like, here's this guy, he's fracking hell, which first off, that's genius. I love the idea of somebody fracking hell for energy.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, everything goes wrong. There's like a cult. It feels typical, like, okay, this is kind of what I had expected about a Doom game. So people can criticize that. That's fine. What I love about it is how the protagonist doesn't care at all. The protagonist, like, fits what like the player is feeling, where like you have this silent character who just like dismisses every time like the villain tries to talk to him, and every time anyone tries to like convince him like, no, we have to do this, and I'm gonna give this big monologue, and he's just like, I don't care, I'm gonna smash this console, I'm gonna destroy all this stuff, because he just wants to kill demons. Like, that's all that matters. And I think that is such a perfect story for Doom, because when you think of the concept of Doom, it's like, it's a little limiting, and I think they did the best possible story they could have done with a Doom game.
I appreciate that. I will give you that, but I do think that Wolfenstein, the original Wolfenstein games, could also be seen as pretty limiting. They were able to evolve the character of BJ Blazkowicz and actually give it a story. And he also has that kind of like, I don't care, I just want to kill Nazis. Similar thing to Doom guy. I don't care, I want to kill demons. I don't care, I want to kill Nazis. That's pretty equal. But then you also have a really timely story that takes on a lot of topics that I think games can shy away from in a lot of ways, especially because Nazis are like the perfect video game enemy because, you know, they're evil and it's really easy to hate them and you don't feel bad about killing them. But I do think that Wolfenstein takes that and expounds upon it a little bit and makes you think a little bit more, and also just kind of like is very consistent in its message that it's like, yeah, we're going to take this down. The system is not okay and we're going to f it up.
Right.
Like I think that is all really valuable and something that Wolfenstein has been building on since the New Order and really delivered on with New Colossus. So I don't know.
I definitely agree, and like I think we both clearly like both of these games. And I like that these games' stories, in weird ways, are kind of like balances to each other. But what I like specifically about Doom's is how it fits in the narrative of a video game really well. I do feel like Wolfenstein, as much as I love the narrative and I think the cutscenes are brilliant, is a little bit of a disconnect between watching the cutscenes and playing the game at times, where I feel like Doom's story fits with the gameplay really well. Like, it feels like this is the perfect story for a video game. Like, it works within the medium in a way that only a video game could. Wolfenstein, the cutscenes are really, really well made, but it's like, I could watch a movie about this and still, for the most part, get the same feelings.
You know, I get that, like, I get that argument, but I don't necessarily get that with Wolfenstein because I do think that even with the courthouse sequence that we talked about earlier, like that's something where the gameplay fed into the narrative really well, and like, yeah, there can be a dissonance between the cutscene and when you're going like just switching just to having your gun in your hand and shooting whatever. I do think that those things play off each other really well, so I think they're just two different storytelling styles. Because I mean, and then also just like you don't fight Hitler, but like that sequence with Hitler is so powerful.
I do have to give you that. The Hitler scene is really good.
It's so good, and I think that, yeah, it's a cutscene and maybe it takes you out of the game-playing experience somewhat in some respects, but I do think that that is something that like only Wolfenstein could have done in that way, because it was so cheeky but also really serious and alternated between those two moods like almost too quickly, but like in this way that was jarring and upsetting, and also just weirdly like you kind of wanted to laugh at it. Like I haven't gotten that emotion from something since like Inglourious Bastards. So yeah.
So, who do you think won the overall debate? Let us know by voting in the poll on the top right corner of the video, or if you're over on GameSpot.com, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, it'll be your votes that decides who wins, so make yourselves heard. Now, let's get to the quickfire round, a series of dumb, fun questions written by the rest of the team.
Would you rather have Olivia Pierce as a mom or Death's Head as your dad? I think I'd rather die.
I guess Death's Head? I don't know.
You'd rather have a Nazi scientist as your dad?
Or a woman who opens up a portal to hell as my mom.
I think I'll go with Hell Mom.
Okay.
Your turn.
Marry, fuck, or kill BJ, Doom Guy, John Romero.
Okay.
Oh shit. I will definitely fuck John Romero. Like, absolutely.
Can we say that? Yeah, marry BJ, kill Doom Guy, and then I abstain.
Yeah, marry BJ, kill Doom Guy, and then John Romero. Absolutely, 100%.
All right, if your protagonist became president, what would be their first order of business? I think it's pretty obvious that BJ would kill all of the neo-Nazis
in America.
And Doom Guy would
he'd probably get rid of like that oil pipeline they're trying to build. I feel like he's like anti-corporation, because that's like, isn't like the whole metaphor in Doom like basically a metaphor for like fracking? They're fracking hell. It's like the whole thing.
Okay.
So I don't know. He'd probably get rid of that.
Okay, so Dakota Access Pipeline versus no more Nazis. I feel like those are both good things.
Those are both good things.
Yeah, cool. Oh, it's your turn.
All right. What is your protagonist's preferred social media platform?
BJ loves Twitter.
Grindr. Doom guy. He doesn't really
Please
talk
explain.
much. He doesn't really talk much, so I feel like he wouldn't tweet or anything. And you just need to show like pictures. So he would just show like those sick abs he's got. Like he's got that one outfit that just has the abs, like cut out.
Yeah.
Armor.
No, that's perfect. That's his profile picture.
That's a profile picture.
Yeah. If you were on a date with your protagonist, what would the date be? Subsequently, what food would you hand feed them? What food would you hand feed them the morning after?
Who came up with these questions?
That's a Mike question. All right. This is Joey. I would make BJ a traditional American breakfast because I know that's what he would want. But you can't really hand feed sunny side up eggs, so I would just stick with the waffles maybe.
Okay, cupcake. I don't know.
You think Doom Guy would eat a cupcake in the morning?
People like cupcakes. I don't know.
Remember to get your voice heard in our poll or in the comments section below and tell us who you think argued their case better. And if you enjoyed this episode of Versus, make sure to hit that subscribe button as we'll have new episodes every Wednesday. Thanks for watching.